time is 7:03. This meeting of the Willamina School Board is hereby called to order. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alrighty, first up on tonight's agenda is OSBA upcoming events.
So I just included some information on a couple of events that are going to be coming up through OSBA, their legislative roadshow, to go over some of the legislative things that have passed and some upcoming things that will be coming on. That's kind of like a dinner that they have in the evening. If you're interested in attending, you can RSVP directly to the person listed in this email, or you can also contact me and I'll get you a seat there if you want to go to that. The other upcoming event is the national or annual convention that's in November up in Portland for OSBA board members. It's November 10th through the 11th. It's kind of like the OSBA summer conference. If you just want to attend one day or can only attend one day, that's totally doable. Just let me know. I can get you registered for the weekend for one day or whatever you need to do. So take a look at that. You can also go on their website if you want to get more information. They do have an agenda already out for that event. So some good information that they're going to be going over. No, Dan, you attended one day at the summer conference and you didn't do there for both days. So, yeah. So it's some good information and a good thing to go to. So just get in touch with me if that's something that you'd like to go to. I can also make your arrangements to stay up there if you prefer to do that. Thank you.
Next on the agenda is our consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
The motion to approve the consent agenda as presented has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments for board discussion? Hearing none, I call for the vote. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All of those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion is passed. Next on our agenda is our superintendent's report.
Well, I don't know if any of you have had a chance to drive further down past the CTE shop and take a look at the progress going on.
We've been taking walks.
Did you guys get to?
Every day, twice a day.
I know, it's so exciting. So it's really moving along. And, I got excited when they just dug dirt out. It's got... it looks like a school and it's pretty incredible. By the end of this week, we should actually have windows in, roofing completed, and siding on. So from the outside looking in, it's gonna look pretty amazing by the end of this week. And then, just in time for before the weather comes, that they will be dedicated to working inside. But it just, I honestly did not think I would see this happen, and I'm so excited. More importantly, we received information from Chief Schultz and Damon Schultz. He's with Grand Ron Fire Department, and he did some extensive review of all the data that came back from our hydrant testing, and then really looked at the system that they're putting into the new middle school. And I want to also mention that we are sprinkling the older portion of the middle school, so those 6 existing classrooms. And he looked at it, and they will function at capacity with the pressure and flow we have in our current. So he said we can take occupancy as soon as the construction's completed. We do not have to wait for the city water project to be done. So that's really good news. Finances, enrollment's up slightly. We are up 14 students from last year. Our middle school is down slightly from last year, and our elementary is about the same, but we are up at the high school level. Our numbers at the high school are pretty higher than they've been in a very, very long time. 78, 68, 89, and 84 at our junior and senior class. So we haven't seen numbers like that in a very long time. I would say a good 10 years. Our obligation bond from 2014 that we passed in our community for $2 million, which was used to build this building as you look out, the 5 classrooms here at the elementary level, and built our big CTE building. It is going to be sunsetting in May of 2024. My hopes is the board will approve to go to our voters to renew it, not to ask for more money, but to renew the existing bond. Our hopes would be to look at, several years ago we did we got a grant from Oregon Department of Ed to do a long-range facility plan and also a facility assessment. And they came up with some really great infill projects to this brick building. So looking at stick built, kind of like what we did to the middle school. But one of the projects, well, 2 infill projects in particular. One was taking that courtyard that's directly behind the high school offices and adding 5 classrooms in there, and closing those double doors and adding 5 more classrooms. And the other one was infilling where the old kindergarten playground is and adding 3 classrooms there. Our need really is at the high school level. We just don't have the capacity to expand programs at all. And our class sizes are pretty high this year because of these numbers. So as we look at, trying to add, culinary programs or foreign languages and things like that, the need for more classroom space is really critical. My recommendation to the board would be to really look at that infill project at the high school if we were to be able to renew that bond. I know $2 million doesn't go very far anymore when it comes to construction, especially school construction, because it is more expensive. But if we can get the matching funds, so the governor has set aside funding. They call it an awesome grant. It's actually OSCIM, and it's a matching grant. And if they actually upped the ante too, but it would allow us, if we qualified, to get $2 million in matching funds, bringing that $2 million renewed grant to $4 million, and to do that project. But that's what we're working on right now, is just to qualify for the awesome funding. And before we would go to our voters in May, we would know for sure whether we would be eligible for that fund. So hopefully our voters would think that would be a really great return on investment to say, we're gonna renew this, you're not gonna charge us more, and now we've got $4 million for the district to do some capital projects.
When does that need to be voted upon to get it on the ballot? Do you know?
There is deadlines. I want to say the deadline to put something on the May ballot is typically,
Like in March, isn't it?
yeah, I believe. So, we would want to be talking about that right around at the turn of the new year and make that decision, because we've got some steps to go through to actually even qualify. The last time I looked, so out of 197 districts, we sat at about 88th for being a priority for those matching funds. But that's assuming every single district would go out for a bond. Typically on any election cycle, you see maybe 10 districts go out for a bond. So the matching bond's only available to people that are going out for a bond. It has to be a general obligation bond. So, it's easy to whittle your way up on that list if, just depends on how much. But they did expand it. It was an $8 million cap. I think they moved that cap to $12 million now. So that's as much as they will match up to. So these districts that are going out for these $160 million bonds like Sherwood and Beaverton, they don't get matched $160 million. They get matched $12 million. But if these smaller districts, if you go out for a $4 million bond, you can get matched up to a $4 million or $6 million or $8 million, but you can't exceed that. It's a great way though for smaller districts to get some critical work done without having to zap our taxpayers with a big tax bill. District leadership team, we had our first meeting tonight. The thing we did in that meeting is we went through our district data, and it's in your packet. This is embargoed, it is not for public consumption yet. So there's, I'm just asking, that board members kind of prevail. September 15th, it goes out to the public. So, it's just a few more days, but just wanted you to have that. You've got the at-a-glance information from elementary, middle school, high school, and the district. One of the exciting things, there's definitely, as we talked in our leadership team meeting tonight, some of our priorities are going to be working on attendance. Our attendance rate was 61% regular attenders, or 60% regular attenders for the district. The state average was 62, so, not a real bright spot for the state of Oregon at all for any public school. But I do want to mention that one of the key indicators is your kindergarten through second grade attendance rate. And prior to COVID, we had been working on, this was one of our big priorities for our district, and we developed a lot of strategies to improve attendance. And right before COVID, we were at 88% regular attendance rate for our K through second grade, which, so we know we can get there. We've got to get back to those strategies that we had prior to COVID. And the number one thing we talked about was getting our families back in the building, engaging with our families and making them feel a part of the district and just building those relationships so they feel that this is a valuable place for their child to be every day. Another bright spot I want to mention though is if you look at our high school at a glance, our graduation rate was 84%, above the Oregon state average. Our 9th grade on track was 87% above the state average. So that was exciting to see. And although the 62% regular attenders doesn't, it's right at the state average. We did have one grade level that was really a hot spot. We had 9th grade with a 78%. So our freshmen last year really loved coming to school. They were our best attendance in the district. Jamie probably felt it every day. And then the other thing I want to mention too is I gave you a little cheat sheet. I've been trained to put in policy summaries over each section. I've done section A, I've done section B, and this is section D and C, which was administration. This is the budget. So this is section D, which covers the budget and the board's policies based on budget. It just talks about the budget development, contingency funds, end fund balance, budget preparation, budget committee, budget implementation, financial reports, district purchasing, and disposal of district property. One of the things I want to highlight is policy DBDB, which is our end fund balance. We have had a pretty healthy end fund balance for the last 10 years. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And I've pointed out in the past, getting competitive grant funding is one of them. They're also the nature of having one campus lends itself to being more efficient with a lot of things. But it's also one of the reasons why we're 88th on that list for matching funds, is because we have this pretty healthy end fund balance. So it makes it appear like we don't need this additional funding. But and we have been able to do some capital improvements using our general funds, which is awesome. But you know, and even an end fund balance of $5 million doesn't replace a whole building. If you needed to build a building and things like that, yep, it can replace the HVAC system in a small district. It can replace your roof. It can add a few classrooms, but it can't replace total facility construction. So there's reasons that you do go out for bonds, but it can make sure that we never get to the position we were and have to ever close this building. We can afford to maintain what we had and maintain it well and make sure it's going to be here for future generations. And that's really important to me, to protect our most valuable investments, which is our facility. What else did I have in there for you? I gave you a quick snapshot of our state school funding. So we get these updated about 3 or 4 times a year. This is just a breakdown of the funds we get from the state school fund. So if you look at the state school fund grant, which is in the 4th box below, we can expect to receive $8,433,596 from the state of Oregon to operate. That's just one component. That's our state funding. We still have federal funding, and in total, we're looking at a budget of almost more than $23 million that you guys help prepare a budget for and authorize expenditures. So just looking at that, and then the next was that enrollment, and one of the ways to ensure positive increasing state school funding is making sure our enrollment stays steady and the room to increase as well. Any questions for me?
Thank you, Carrie. You're welcome. Next up, yay, you guys are back.
They're back.
We're back. Principal report with Sarah for the elementary school.
All right. Well, it is good to be back. It's just as nice to have our kids running through here throughout the day. It feels normal again. So, and I'm gonna bounce around. I realized after looking at this that none of it's in order. So it's just easier for me to go in order. For professional development, we started off with in-service week, and it was great to see the staff again. We started off with a lot of excitement and enthusiasm, and that's something we're really trying to keep going. It's just keeping our motivation, our energy up, especially with the kids, and as we enter the non-honeymoon phase with them, which we're there. We had our grade level teams. We welcomed several new members and staff into the school, really, because it's certified and classified. But we did some grade level changes this year that we haven't had in the past. So starting off, we had our grade levels meet together, and they each designed a charter which kind of outlines how they want to feel throughout the year. They're basically their norms, how they're going to operate, and it really kind of sets some good groundwork for them. We, of course, reviewed the compliance videos for the district, and teachers had a lot of time to prepare in their classrooms. That was really important to them. But then, in order to keep up that motivation and energy, we spent a day going around and looking at each other's classrooms, because we never get that opportunity once things are going. So they got to go and learn a little bit about what's going on in different classrooms and kind of get inspired to start the year. Greg Taylor's one of our behavior coaches. He's also a trainer for nonviolent crisis intervention. And we were really fortunate to have all of our certified staff and some of our classified staff go through this. The training focuses on minimizing physical interventions, so having to go hands-on with kids less for safety reasons, recognizing and responding to defensive behaviors, and then understanding what the behavior is, and then how to meet their needs so that we don't continue to get a child in a crisis. So it was really good, a lot of de-escalation techniques, good for every person to hear. And then that Friday, several staff attended the annual education summit out at the tribe. It was a fantastic opportunity to learn more about the history and culture. They talked a lot about tribal history, shared history curricula, the Shinnecock language, and how to better support our Indigenous students. It really is fantastic. I appreciate all the hard work that goes into it every year. It's just a really valuable learning opportunity. And then to start the year, we had, rather than the first day of school, we had Meet the Teacher Day, which is what we've traditionally done. It replaced parent-teacher conferences, basically because we don't know the kids yet. So we turned it into Meet the Teacher Day. Parents were able to come up, see the child's classroom, drop off school supplies so their backpacks weren't heavy the first day, and then meet the teacher. It was really well attended. I heard from several staff members that they met all their kids and families. Some were just missing a few, but this is always a really good event to start things off on a positive note. Kindergarten transition camp happened prior to in-service week. We had a majority of our kindergartners attend 5 days a week. They just went half a day in the morning, but it really familiarized them with our teachers. They got to go to each teacher and be in their classroom for at least 1 or 2 days. We were able to put them on the bus and drive them around and give them the rules of the bus. They got to go through the lunch lines and learn about the nutrition. What else? Attendance. Carrie and I both spoke about the district and kind of routines and school procedures. And it also gave us an opportunity to talk to families and help familiarize them with what they can expect coming into the district and into kindergarten, because that's a big change. We had first day of school greeters. So Rebecca Arredondo is our TAP at Tribal Family Advocate. And she does a great job reaching out to people the first day of school. I think she started as soon as school was over organizing this event. But we had a lot of community members show up and greet our kids. The tribal council, the tribal police department, the mayor was here, Isla Skyber. The tribal education department, youth empowerment, smoke signals. It was great to see our kids coming off the bus in a familiar face to greet them, especially those kids who've transitioned from preschool to kindergarten, and there was their teacher, or there was the people that they knew. So just making a connection with those faces was really helpful. And it's kind of cool to see a bunch of adults cheering you on and welcoming you to school. Those are the pictures that are down on the bottom. Those are our first day of school greeters. And then, like I said, I was way out of order. Our new staff. We have, we stole the Peak 8 teacher who did PE for Jamie and I halftime last year, Zach Spink. He's taking on 5th grade. He's great. He's got a lot of energy and enthusiasm. New teacher. He's doing good out there. Rachel Wallace, we took from Salem Kaiser School District. She taught kindergarten for 8 years. She's doing amazing in there. We are really lucky to have her. Nicole Hillier, who is from Willamina, did her student teaching here in Willamina, and then substitute taught here for 2 years. Now has finally has a home. She's in our brand new Tier 3 support classroom. It's called the What I Need room. So she helps with those kids that are having some big behaviors, working on individual skill building, working on small group skill building, really taking them out of the classroom to minimize disruption and to help them be successful to gain the skills they need and then go back to the classroom and practice it. So they're still getting academics, but they're also getting stronger in what they need to be successful in the classroom. So we're really fortunate to have that and her. Brandy Elston, Michelle Hedges are our new Title I assistants. Lillian Oswald and Kayla Smith have joined our special education team. All of them have really great skills. Kayla Smith has worked with behavior in adults. She really just had a passion for kids. She got going on day one, and she's working with one-to-one with a student and just thriving. She's got a lot of great skills. Brandy Elston did Title I in Sheridan for a number of years, so she's right at home. So we just kind of hit the ground running, which is great. We had our picture day September 5th. It went good. We just finished our Dibbles reading assessment, screening all kids K-5 in reading. So right now we're meeting with grade level teams to determine what specific skills kids need to give them through the day. We have vision screenings coming up next week. Our Bulldog Bash, which is our campus-wide open house, and I have invitations for you guys. I didn't get up there to the table in time, but we hope that you can join us. It's going to be bigger and better this year, and just a lot of fun. We want all members of the community to come up, whether you've got kids in school or not, just to come up and have a good night. We've got a free picnic dinner, bring a blanket, hopefully live music, and the CTE building, I'll let you talk about that. But just a lot of fun. So come on up. And then no school on September 22nd for Native American Day. Our numbers are holding steady. I think we are like plus or minus 3. I don't know which direction because I took it off of there.
377
Yeah.
as a 9.5.
Yeah. So we're right around where we were. But new kids, new kindergartners, and things are going good. So, any questions?
I want to point one thing out. So on your at a glance, this is really a big shout out to Miss Margaret. So on that back side, you see where the 94% is? That is average teacher retention rate. 94% speaks volumes of her leadership. Just want to.
I love them. They love it here. As long as they're happy, the kids are happy, life is good. So, but yeah, I'm super proud of them. They're amazing people. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Next up, Jamie.
Hi.
Go girl.
Oh, yes. Well, like Sarah, it's like this weird seasons, you get out at the end of the year and you're just, whew, and then you come back in August and we have this time to just work alone for a while and kind of figure out what we want to do. And then you're kind of like ready for some more action. And the teachers come back and then they want, you're trying to get them ready and then the kids come back. And that's when you remember like why we do what we do. Like, yeah, they bring us a lot of energy. And so it's been great. It's been a really good start. We had our professional learning this morning and asked everyone to think of something that's gone well and something that they want to do better. And a lot of people commented on how the start just feels really good this year. Just it feels like we've got things in place but we want to keep that going. And that is our theme at the middle school, high school is better. When we talk and we think about all the things that we're doing, which I think there's a lot of wonderful things happening, and then it's like, how can we just keep doing them better and like for kids and making adjustments. And we have a little acronym, Bulldogs Engaging Together to Be Better. And so it's interesting when you pick something like this, kind of like when you buy a car and then you like see it everywhere. It's like this word is everywhere. It's the more we dive into it, it's just like, yes. And so, same thing, we had our in-service, we kicked it off with a team building morning with staff and did a lot of different activities, just kind of getting them back together. I mean, when they're that first day back, people want to like reconnect and just have some energy and remind themselves that, yes, this is awesome. Like I'm glad to be back. And the thing that we always ask there, that I always ask people to do is just take risks and be vulnerable. And because that's how we get better, because if we're not willing to like stretch ourselves and be vulnerable, and I just feel like that's what we've been working on over the past few years, is building a culture where people can trust and take those risks. And I think on our back to school one, it was in service really highlighted that, and people were willing to to put themselves out there, which was awesome. We even involved Carrie.
She made people dance.
Yeah. it
They
was
put puzzles together at these
Yeah.
tables, and I got to go around and put everyone's Rubik's Cube together.
yeah.
That was my
Yeah,
contribution.
she had some skills. That was our save our superintendent activity. So she anyway, and then the next day we came back in the morning, and that's when we go over the dry stuff, you know, like some of the new expectations or things that we're working toward that just some of our overall expectations. We call them nuts and bolts, just things that we want everyone to make sure that they know. And then on Wednesday, we spent the morning going over our Mondays, which we do differently. And so last May in our in-service, we did a big activity, a design challenge with our staff around what are the things that are working and what are the things that we feel like could be better. And then they solved the problem in like an hour, and then they pitched their ideas. And so we took, in June, Derek and I sat back and we put all their posters up and we pulled all of their ideas and kind of restructured some things and put that together. And then we went and shared it with the staff and got a lot of really positive feedback. So I think it's just creating more engagement from the staff and having it set up a little more structured for the students. And then mostly they spent their time getting ready because that's what they need to have that time. I would say that the first day of school we do where we just bring all the kids in, they get their schedules, they can get lockers. The middle school and the high school each had donuts for the kids in the two gyms, and they were able to get to their advisory classes and just spend some time reconnecting again, just like the staff got to do. And then at one point in the day, they all got to go through like a mini version of their schedule, like a 10 minute per class, just so that they knew where everything was. They knew they got to meet their teachers. And then when they came on Tuesday, it was like, okay, I know what to do. And like Carrie said, we have so many new students. It's not like just a few over here that it's like there's a lot. And then, right?
And signed a lot of inter-district transfers as well this year. I was really surprised, like that week before school started, the number that came.
Yeah, so
They cut it off at the high school.
Yep.
So I denied quite a few.
Yes, and so that's been great just to remember, like, if you've never been new somewhere, sometimes we make a lot of assumptions that people are just, like, you just figure it out, you know, so it's been really nice to front load a lot of that, so it avoids some of that anxiety for students, and I think that's one thing I feel like we did a really good job of this year was, and we keep getting better at it, is just that preparation for school. So our sixth grade teachers, Kathleen Coffey, Angie Anderson, and Casey Anderson, they started doing a Camp 6 for our sixth graders. And we had 2 weeks and they could choose one of the weeks. And it's just this opportunity for sixth graders to come, kind of like kindergarten. I say sixth grade is the kindergarten of secondary ed, because you really do, it's like starting over with a lot of things and there's so much. But they just need it in smaller doses. They need it repeated. And so they did their camp, and it was just awesome to see the kids here. And then they decided to take the first week of school, and you don't have to like jump into everything. Like, so because they have a lot of flexibility within their time with the kids. So they broke things down and really tried to go slow. And the sixth graders are rocking it. They're just like awesome this year. And it just feels good. Like they're really figuring it out, and they just have a really good spirit about them. So that I just shout out to them, because that was the 2 weeks of their summer that they spent planning and preparing and getting the supplies and doing that for students. We also did the same thing, not to the same level, but we do a thing for freshmen, Camp 27. The 27 stands for their graduation year. And this is, after this year, we will have done this 4 times. And so all of our students get a t-shirt. This is kind of cool, because several years ago when we decided to do this, it was Camp 24, I think. And we had 25. 25.
We didn't have one.
Okay, so maybe 25. So this will be 3 years of it. So we had, one of our students at the time had this vision of, we did a planning session of this t-shirt that had a bulldog, and she said, I'm just seeing like all together, like that's what I want, it's like all together. So we made this t-shirt, and then on the back it had their grad year, so they all got Camp 25 shirts. Well, we made them for our staff, and it says our grad year on the back. Yeah. Some of us were like, yeah. No. But this year, so the idea was in 4 years, everyone will have the orange shirt with their grad year on the back. I mean, it'll just keep going through. But the cool thing is when you start doing something, it becomes what you do. It's not a new thing anymore. And so the first couple years, we try to pull the juniors and seniors in and help us with it. And we've had to like work a little harder at that. But this year, it was just awesome. They just showed up because they did it. And so they were like, we know what this is about. We want to give back to the kids. And so we had the Camp 27. We had a great turnout. The kids that were the students that helped us lead it actually had great suggestions right when we were doing our training before of how we could be even more efficient. We had a school from Klatskanai, a group from Klatskanai came down, their leadership teacher, and she brought a group of high school students because they've been wanting to do something for their freshmen. She met one of our teachers at a workshop this summer, and they said, you should get a hold of our school. And so they came down and they observed, they got involved, they met our kids. It was kind of cool. It was like a neat little experience, and they had a lot of takeaways, and then I asked them for their feedback too, like, what would you do different? Like, what would you do better? And so that was really fun. And then we were able to print the shirts ourselves out in our CTE shop. We had some students come in early, help me with that. So that was awesome. We went through that process. Of course, it was the days it was like 90 something and that hot, and the air conditioner was out. And it was like all this steam. It was really hot. But then kids got to open their lockers. They got, the whole 9 yards. I also wanted to point out, our Willamina FFA, David Neese and Brenda Shank, for their hard work. The kids that went to the Polk County Fair, it was a lot of preparation and taking care of animals and preparing them to show. I got to go for a day with them, and just our kids did really well at fair, and so it was just awesome to see that support. But it's a huge undertaking, and it's a long days. I think they even sleep there. Yeah. Also, TJ Wilson and Willamina Customs. We added an element to that club this summer. They did a soft start with some culinary things. The kids got their license, their food handler's license, and the health inspector came out to 3 of their shows, and they got really good reviews, and so they checked them out. But so they took that. We had the girls build that is up here that is sponsored, I believe, by Hampton Lumber, but it's really cool, and it's people from all over, but they do this whole week-long thing. And Lynn couldn't do the food for them because she was doing kindergarten camp and all these things, and so they did the catering for the girls' build breakfast and lunch. So that was kind of neat to see that happen. There was a lot going on that week.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people up here. I also want to point out Treon Nelson. She's our school counselor, and she has done an enormous amount of front loading for our students, like where they're at in their graduation plan, and she's created documents that are much more user-friendly for students and that we all have access to. And she, it was really important that the students, when they get here, that they have what they need, instead of a line down the hall for 2 weeks to change your schedule. And we have kids fully placed. We've had very few changes, but we've been able to make the ones we need. And it's a lot of work on her part, but it's a skill set of hers that she's really good at. And so it's neat to see her using her superpowers that way. And then Marley Turbush in the office, she does all of our student registrations, and we've had a lot of new students, so that requires a lot of records. And then she also does our middle school schedules. So just really appreciate that. And then just the rest of the office staff, Chris Wagler, Kathy Spencer, and Jamie Wolf, just all the things that you have to do to get ready for school. It's just been a really good team effort. And then just our school improvement, we're gonna start our 9th grade on track. Like Carrie mentioned about our freshmen, we meet monthly about our freshmen, and we look at a lot of their attendance, their grades, their behavioral, things like that, and we find ways to come wrap around them.
Our 9th grade on track rate is 87%, the state average is 83%. they've had this team, this high school success team that meets and really focuses on our ninth grade. I want to tell you, at one point, our ninth grade on track rate was 54% for our district. And I would say it's really the work of this team and the detail of making sure they're meeting with every single freshman and making sure they have what they need is why this number is where it's at.
And the research shows if they're on track in their freshman year, they're much more likely to graduate on time. That's just the research, so. And then academically, because it's so effective, we are gonna do a quarterly 10-11 on track, just to be looking at those students with the teachers, and then we'll do a monthly, just Treon and I, and probably Heather Hughes, just 12th grade on track. We just like to make sure that who do we need to be looking at and stuff. So we're gonna try to kind of implement those at a lesser degree, but still that just going through all the students and looking at them to try to be on top of that.
Yeah, and back to that, our graduation rate, on-time graduation, 84%. At that same time, that ninth grade on track was 54%. Our graduation rate we had a 64% and then 69% at that same time. So, 20% gain with that type of attention to detail and individual kid detail is why that happened.
Yes,
Thank
speaks
you.
volumes to the staff because they care deeply about the students and they want to take the time and they want to take those efforts. So it's a village for sure. And then Derek Barnett, our high school assistant principal, is working with Jerry Bazinski, our AD, and they're working on eligibility and just keeping that up with our athletes and activities. And then our behavioral, K-12, we're really super, I know this has a big part of how it felt to the start was having Sean Draper back in that behavioral health director position. He's been able to really focus in on some of our higher needs students and being able to get out ahead of it. And we have some really great plans in place for kids with specific goals. And that just I think it feels better for the kids too, to know that someone's watching and helping, and we're getting systems in place. The elementary school has some really great systems, and we're trying to build some systems that are a little more proactive with our students as well, and we're feeling really good about that. So that's been awesome. But yeah, and just a lot of great things happening. Bulldog Bash, I think we'd love for you guys to come out and see all the cool things. Yes. And our culinary group is gonna be making tacos also. If you wanna test out there.
What time is the homecoming parade?
So it's like 1:15, I think, is kind of when it's probably, I don't know the exact time. What is it? He knows, Ryan knows.
We'll leave it to the students.
I don't know. We don't know yet.
I have a range of when all the homecoming that day activities are.
All right.
I need to see you after this since I have something.
Okay.
Thank you, Jean. Any questions, comments for principal? Next up, we'd like to welcome back Justine with our tribal report.
It's got a lot of stuff on here. So first we had the education summit on August 25th. So I want to thank any of the teachers and admin and staff that attended. We had 207 attendees, and I believe Cheyenne already sent out a survey for feedback. So if anybody has any feedback, it's always welcome. I wanted to thank Rebecca for inviting us out to do the greetings. We had a large amount of people show up, so it was well attended, and we just appreciate the opportunity to be there and support students and handed out pens and all that good stuff too. So that was a good time. One of the bigger things happening out our way, we're finishing up our Chinook language building is finished, but it's not really. Painting still happening, but we're hoping that students are going to be able to move into that building on Wednesday. So our students can start out there on that day, and then it'll be continued that half-day transitions. So that's exciting. Academic coaching will officially start up this week. They don't do coaching on Monday. But they've finalized their schedules based on middle school and high school schedules, and then based on elementary schedules, got new teachers, done all of that planning, so they'll officially start coaching this week, tracking attendance and all of that good stuff. We did have 3, almost 4 coaches did the DIBELS training so that they could help when DIBELS testing goes through. So I think we had 3 academic coaches that sat in to support DIBELS Day and did testing. And so we appreciate Gail reached out and supported that, sent us the link so our staff could support in that way. Academic advisors are working on scheduling meetings with admins, attendance, and behaviors to check in on our students so that we can be there as support and offer resources where we can help. So they have those meetings scheduled. Depending on what the need is, I think they meet with admins every other week. Behavior, that's dependent on need, but I think they try to do that every other week as well. And then attendance, I think, is once a month to do check-ins. The tribe hired Glenna Berry. We stole her from here. So we hired Glenna Berry. She's our literacy specialist now. So she's doing literacy support out of the tribe, and it's a combination of working with individual students who have literacy needs if they're working on GED or if they have high literacy needs. She's also doing organized trainings from preschool up to make sure that our staff is trained in working with students recognizing needs as far as literacy goes. She's doing some progress monitor testing with any of the students that are getting coaching so that we can have our most recent data to compare with any data that's done up at the school, and to support any kind of needs that might be there. On September 18th, Cheyenne's meeting with middle school and high school staff to offer a professional development training around implementation of curriculum and kind of looking to assist the middle school and high school teachers in grasping what's available in the curriculum, and then looking at what subjects our curriculum can be implemented into, and kind of doing some curriculum mapping to support in any way that she can. She's also going to be on campus the week of, I only remember September 28th because I have a different meeting that day, but that week she's going to be up here and available to any staff to reach out if they want to use their prep time. She's just going to kind of be set up, I don't know where yet, but she'll be up here on campus, and she'll just be there for teachers to come check in with if they want to like go through their individual curriculum maps and talk about ways that Senate Bill 13 curriculum or tribal curriculum can be implemented. Because our overall goal is not to make it like one thing that's taught in like November, just because that's Native American Heritage Month. The idea is to just implement a lesson here or there throughout the year so it kind of builds on top of each other. So she wants to support and make sure that teachers are comfortable doing that. I think she's also giving that on the 18th, she's doing a tribal history presentation, and that's really helpful to teachers because a lot of the resistance to implementation of curriculum is a lack of understanding of the history, and so it makes teachers uncomfortable, especially if they're not comfortable with the topic. So doing that history kind of helps them have a background in that curriculum and kind of where those lessons make sense. So that'll be good for the staff. We also met with Rebecca last week on Indigenous Peoples Day. I think you guys do not have school on Native American Day on the 22nd, but you do have school on Indigenous Peoples Day. And she was originally hoping to partner with the tribe. The hard part about that is we do not work that day. So I think she's really working with staff to talk about ways that they can kind of either work on curriculum or implementation of some kind of culturally responsive activities to offer students that day. We're doing an education open house that's open to community on October 5th. It's a chance to walk through buildings. We'll have staff on campus, and it's also going to be partnered with a powwow or youth powwow that's available. Open to community. Adam has started his classes at the high school. He's offering Shawash studies, Native American literature, guided study classes, and he's doing a freshman focused Native students classes. All of his classes are open to community. We try to stick the Native students in a freshman focused class so that we can offer support where it might be needed, but it's a pretty full class, so he's got a lot of students in there. But the Native Lit Shawa studies and guided study is a combination of Native, other Native, and non-Native students. So those classes are available to anybody. And that's all I have. Looks like. Any questions? Thank you.
Last but certainly not least, we have Brian back with our student report.
Let me stand up. Is that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Hi, my name is Ryan Nelson. I'm a senior here at Willamina High School. I'm the ACE president. This is twice in a row. Both my parents work here. My dad's a history teacher, and he also teaches government leadership. My mom is Trion Nelson, that she talked about. She's got a quick report here today. From leadership, we are currently working on plans for homecoming. The theme will be announced on this Wednesday, and that's on 9/21 with the game and everything. From athletics, football, we are 2-0 currently. We beat Clatskanai and then Nia Colony on Friday. And then this week we are at Blanchette, and JV games will start next week. From volleyball, we currently have over 25 athletes playing today at Culver. Tomorrow they're on the road at Western Christian. They're currently 2-2, now 3-2. They just won. Cross country run at Stucca. There are 12 runners at this time running at Silver Falls on September 13th. We have 5 girls that are on the combined team with Delphian and Sheridan. Maybe not Delphian, but I know Sheridan for sure. And they play tomorrow versus Riverdale. She talked about FFA and customs and everything, so I'm not going to about that. But the Bulldog Brew, which is, you didn't really talk about, which is the student-led coffee shop, will open on Bulldog Bash night. So that's all I got.
Another reason to go. Thank you, Ryan. Alrighty. Next on the agenda is time that we have set aside for our audience time. Is there anything from the audience that they feel needs to come before the board that is not currently on our agenda? There being nothing further on the agenda to discuss, the meeting of the Willamina School Board is hereby adjourned. Good to see you.